affects me every day. Yeah, I ain't been home in a minute, think I'm living too fast. Hop up in my whip and race it, cause I just can't relax. Wish that I could talk about it, but I just can't do that. And all these problems keep on stacking up, I gotta deal with that. Yeah, she say I'm a villain, but I'm Tom Cruise on a mission. Heard he talking down in the squad, boy, yeah, you gon' end up missing. I'm with the game for life, yeah, we ain't never switching. Got a bag and I flipped it, came back for you, but you were missing. I wish that was a way I could take away the pain.
Pretty cool. So let's get straight into it, man. Pretty much as I like to do, I like to break down firstly what we actually have within our mix, all the elements and ingredients that we have in our mix. So to start off, we obviously have a main vocal, which is what I personally record first. I make sure all the different takes are the best takes that I like. I put them together, comp them is what we call them, and then I have a nice solid foundation to work with. I'll generally then do a little bit of leveling with the beat and the vocal, maybe a little bit of EQ. EQ will obviously run through. I'll always start off with the SSL EQ. We'll break that down in just a few. After that, I will generally do a nice doubler, because the doubler is really going to allow me to kind of fill up all of the blank space under the main vocal. Not all artists are doing that. I personally like doing that. It's very nice, especially if you are sending your tracks out for mix. It's especially important to have a nice doubler sitting under the hook, especially even your verse is nice to have, because then the mixer can kind of pull it in and out of the track and have something extra to work with. It also adds a really nice dimension to your song. So after that, man, again, we have the backgrounds left and right. Now, this is something I would generally add more so on the hook. Obviously, I'm trying to include as much as possible so I can make for an impactful tutorial. But those are all of our elements, and as you can see, they're all mirrored over here. My bad, we also have a nice little sing ad-lib. I'll quickly solo each one, obviously main vocal as it is.
Yeah, I ain't been home in a minute, think I'm living too fast. Hop up in my whip and race it, cause I just can't relax.
Really nice upfront pop sound, really aggressive. Behind that we have the pop doubler.
Yeah, I ain't been home in a minute, think I'm living too fast. Hop up in my whip and race it, cause I just can't relax. But I just can't do that. All these problems keep on stacking up, I gotta deal with that.
I'm just kind of going to go through the vocal chains for the background stuff so I can get them over with. Obviously, you don't need auto-tune. It's not something that is needed. You know, I really try and strive for creating your own sound that'll still complement your artists. You know, the artist with the intention you want to kind of take some attributes from. I think it's important to have your own sound. So, you know, that's what I added. After that, we've got the doublers. These are really nice. I've kind of custom tailored them this time around.
She say I'm a villain, but I'm Tom Cruise on a mission. Heard he talking down in the squad, boy, yeah, you gon' end up missing. I'm with the game for life, yeah, we ain't never switching. Got a bag and I flipped it, came back for you, but you were missing.
And that's really cool. That's just going to add a really nice kind of rock punk kind of grittiness. I'm using the SSL J series this time around from Plugin Alliance. They all pretty much sound quite identical, very similar in sound. You could use a free one, you could use the Waves one, Plugin Alliance, lots of options out there. UAD is also nice. So if I play all of the backgrounds at once, you can kind of hear. I've also got the sing ad-lib.
She say I'm a villain, but I'm Tom Cruise on a mission. Talking down to the squad, boy, you gon' end up missing. I'm with the game for life, yeah, we ain't never switching. No. Got a bag and I flipped it, came back for you, but you were missing.
Pretty cool, right? It kind of has this really nice kind of choir-esque sound to it. Background, you know, I think I just went through this. But yeah, there you go. And everything you can add on behind the main vocal, obviously with the main vocal.
Yeah, she say I'm a villain, but I'm Tom Cruise on a mission. Heard he talking down in the squad, boy, yeah, you gon' end up missing. I'm with the game for life, yeah, we ain't never switching. Got a bag and I flipped it, came back for you, but you were missing.
Very cool. We also have some cool hyperdrive sound packs right here, or effects going on. You can check out my web store for that. These are really cool. These are important to add kind of movement to your track.
Yeah, I ain't been home in a minute, think I'm living too fast.
So those are kind of just effects that pop in and out. Definitely important if you are making your own music. We also have these delay triggers which are going on. So these are just duplicates of the main vocals themselves. You can kind of see the corresponding tracks. What I've done is you can hold in shift and then left click and then drag, and then you can have a different clip, and then you'd obviously just want to right click and make it unique. And as you can see right there, that clip is labeled number 2, so that is obviously a duplicate. I then route that track to a delay channel, and then just make sure the auto-tune is there so the auto-tune sounds the same, and then just add a delay and EQ it to taste, and then you end up with this really nice kind of background delay.
Too fast, hop up in my whip.
And that's the trigger right there. Pretty cool. You obviously want to make sure that your project is synchronized. So obviously the song was at a BPM of 69.5, then your delay can synchronize up with that. So really cool, easy stuff. Let's kind of get into the main vocal chain, obviously the meat and potatoes of our project. So on the vocal itself, man, for those who are template users, you will know that I always provide a mic input channel. So you can add your mic. Right now my mic's on input 4. I add that into there and boom, I'm ready to record, right? I'm generally turning off all the effects other than auto-tune, maybe NoiseGate. If I'm hearing a bit of hiss that kind of distracts me, I'll turn that on. Really nice to record with. And then I will just generally be recording with an EQ, nothing else other than the EQ. And that's going to give me a nice kind of, basic idea of what, or kind of just a forecast of what I'm going to be working with later on. So I know if I'm recording at that moment and it's sounding good and I'm listening back on the speakers, I'm going to be happy to then continue the project. So yeah, that's pretty much what I'll be doing. But once I'm ready to mix, I'm then going to be starting to add plugins on. So first things first, Farai's vocal enhancer, we're definitely adding that. This is just amazing. No matter what gear I get, I'm always going to be using this because I just think it has a really nice sound to it. So this is cool. This is adding a nice bit of dimension. You can check this out on the web store. Really cool. Makes use of free plugins to get a really nice kind of tight, tubey kind of mainstream vocal sound, and I quite like it. I've been using it on most mixes these days. That's the first thing I'm adding. You could obviously use a bus color for any sort of saturation plugin. This one has a bit of toning on it, so you can look in waves and a less, we'll do something similar. But yeah, man, after that, bit of de-essing. So if we just pay attention to how much de-essing we're doing.
She say I'm a villain, but I'm
yeah, so there's the S's.
deal with that. Yeah, she say I'm a villain, but I'm Tom Cruise on a mission. Heard he talking down in the squad, boy. Yeah, you gon' end up missing. I'm with the game for life. Yeah, we ain't never switching.
So as you can see, that de-esser, when used correctly, when you kind of find that correct frequency, for me 16K for some reason is just that place. I can do a bit more and also get that nice kind of chafing off of the harsh frequencies. A de-esser is used specifically for getting rid of all those heavy S sounds that pop out of the track, and this is a really nice classic tool to use. Waves de-esser, probably still on sale. Alright, so after that, man, once we've done a bit of saturation, dealing with the S sounds, we can really start to tone and carve out our vocal. This is something that a lot of people struggle with. Now, as you can see in purple, I'm using 3 different EQs to really get that sound. The Kid Laroi definitely has a unique sound. I would say most of his voice sound, or that EQ curve that you kind of hear, is definitely from how he sings. But obviously, if you adjust correctly, you can get a similar tone if you have sang in that way. So what I did first was I actually let's go in order. Okay, so we'll go in standard order. I added this Millennia EQ, which has a nice bit of a tape or tube vibe going on to it. But really, I just used it for reducing a little bit of 180 hertz. I think that is right there. I just kind of used this shelf to trim that away. So something like this at 180. And I got rid of that. And then I added a little bit of, 2.5, just to really sparkle the vocal. I'll bring it up front, kind of make it pop to the speakers, right, with that kind of harsh, cool sound. And that's what I did right there. Obviously, using too much is going to make it way too harsh, and you're not going to want to listen to that vocal. So after that, man, SSL EQ. As I said, this is the first plugin that I am recording with. I probably won't be recording with this much EQ, but generally once I'm ready to start mixing, I'll add a high pass filter first. So high pass filter, for those who don't know, is something like that. This time around, I'm going for about 128, just to really get rid of all of those low mids, just to allow the 808 to pass through, also just to have a vocal exist in that kind of treble region. After that, for those who know, I like to reduce 200 hertz as the secret source. Low shelf again. So as you can see at 220, that's where we're reducing. And again at 200s in a bell curve at 200. So we end up with something like this, really. And that's kind of the tone that we have. And really, you don't need to do much treble boosting after that. Once you've kind of dealt with getting rid of the low mids, your vocal is kind of going to be nice and airy. Using a little bit of compression, I really like the SSL compression. All it's really doing is kind of compressing and lifting the volume, so that's really nice to use. After that, a little bit of EQ. And as you can see right here, the downside to singing like this is that this area is really going to suffer, right? Because condenser microphones are kind of made to pick up all frequencies, but if you are singing in this way, you're going to pick up a lot of resonances. Or from my experience, this is what I kind of have come to find, right? If I've got a female singer that's singing in a very kind of throaty way, which this vocal sounds very much throat heavy, you are going to get quite a few resonances here. So really, it's just your job to identify and clean up. If I turn off all these EQs,
Deal with that. Yeah, she say I'm a villain, but I'm Tom Cruise on a mission.
right, that vocal on its own is fine, but it's obviously not the Kid Laroi style, right? So once we add in these EQs,
deal with that. Yeah, she say I'm a villain, but I'm Tom Cruise on a mission. Heard he talking down in the squad, boy, yeah, you gon' end up missing.
you can really see how that EQ just kind of deals with all of that, makes the vocal kind of pop out more, and almost emphasizes this section more. Sometimes you don't have to boost, you can rather just cut certain regions that might be masking the important aspects of your vocal. Again, then afterwards I just added a really nice high-end boost, 20,000 hertz, just to really lift some of the sparkle out of the vocal. You won't really hear it at 20,000 hertz, you're more so going to hear it around here. So that's pretty much what I did. Sweet stuff. After that, man, it's compression time. So all of these in blue, in light blue, are compression. So we start off with the R compressor. This is a no BS, no brainer compressor. I really like using it. I prefer using this over the R compressor. A lot of people ask me why I don't use the R compressor. I just prefer this simply because you have the choice of altering the attack and release, which I find pretty important. Attack is obviously going to determine how quickly the compressor clamps down. I don't really want to compress too fast, otherwise you're going to kind of suck up some of the initial transients of your vocal, so I kind of leave that at around 10, which is still very fast. And then a nice fast release, because obviously if we're singing or rapping fast, we don't want the compressor to be too slow. After that, I then love to gel. I like to think of a multiband compressor as kind of like a massage, a massager for the vocal. It's going to pretty much compress segments of the vocal or parts of the vocal separately, so you can separately set different places. So obviously the high treble, the high mids, the low mids, and then the bass region are going to be EQ'd or compressed separately. So let's just see what happens.
Deal with that. Yeah, she say I'm a villain, but I'm Tom Cruise on a mission. Heard he talking down in the squad, boy, yeah, you gon' end up missing. I'm with the game for life. Yeah, we ain't never switching. Got a bag and I flipped it.
So you can kind of hear the vocal is nice because we've done all that processing, but it still doesn't have that airiness to it. Now, instead of me aggressively boosting the top end, all I did was more aggressively kind of deal with the bass, so compress the bass, right?
Deal with that. Yeah, she say I'm a villain, but
and then all we kind of left with is that nice air and then the bass being treated, and that's beautiful because it's a 2-in-1 really. So that's pretty cool. After that, in green, we have all of the effects. So I've got this flanger right here, which is adding a really nice kind of tapiness to the vocal. Helps it to smooth the vocal off and make it sound a bit nicer. After that, we have the flanger again. So I'm just using another flanger just to really do the same thing. And then a little bit of reverb. I love using the Korg stuff on my main vocals these days. For some reason, it's just part of the sound. Obviously, I want you to go ahead and find plugins that work for you. You could use the stock stuff. You could use Waves, Meta Flanger. You could use the Waves Reverb. You could use plugin lines plugins. Doesn't really matter. The theory is what's important. So that's pretty much it. All of these vocals run into the all vocals chain. So for those who know, I like to bus compress my vocals, especially when you are mixing your vocals to a 2-track instrumental. It's important just to have a compressor at the end of all of the vocals just to help glue them together. So you can kind of see when this needle moves to the right, it is compressing, and you can see that I'm just doing about 1 to 2 dB of compression.
deal with that. Yeah, she say I'm a villain, but I'm Tom Cruise on a mission. Heard he talking down in the squad, boy, yeah, you gon' end up missing. I'm with the game for life.
And you can really hear it subtle, but it is kind of putting the vocal in a pocket. And then whenever kind of all the vocals pop out in volume, it's just kind of saying, you know what I mean? Let's just massage that whole vocal mix. After that, I love using the Waves L1 limiter. Really cool. This allows me to do a kind of really cheat code kind of thing. The threshold, the more you pull it down, is the more it's going to compress. So it's obviously going to lift the overall volume of all of your vocals, but you can then set the output ceiling to kind of lower the overall volume. So what you end up with is similar to what a RVox is doing, essentially, just more kind of, I would say less aggressively, but all it does is add, 0.1 dB of volume in theory, but it's adding this really nice kind of body and kind of refinement to your vocal sound. So if I turn this off,
deal with that. Yeah, she say I'm a villain, but I'm Tom Cruise on a mission. Heard he talking down in the squad, boy, yeah, you gon' end up.
you can kind of hear it's popping out, the S's are popping out, everything's not really sounding finished. So this is really my mastering of the vocal chain.
Deal with that. Yeah, she say I'm a villain, but I'm Tom Cruise on a mission. Heard he talking down.
You can kind of hear how much more elegant those kind of parts are, or the ends of each phrases are. They sound a lot more expensive. So yeah, man, pretty much what I'll do is I'll also run through a few of the effects. I might do a full video on this just because we are running out of time. But, again, I'm using about 3 reverbs in this mix. I'm using one hardware reverb, which I recorded into the project. I'm using the Laroi Reverb, which is something I just made. It's kind of like a nice room sound. I didn't want to go too crazy with it this time around, but if you want to hear some of these reverbs boosted, let me just do that for you.
Deal with that. Yeah, she say I'm a villain, but I'm Tom Cruise.
So that's reverb 1.
Deal with that. Yeah, she say I'm a villain, but I'm Tom Cruise.
That's a lot more of a kind of closer room sound. And then reverb 3.
Deal with that. Yeah, she say I'm a villain, but I'm.
And all of those together just add a little bit of source to the vocal sound.
Deal with that. Yeah, she say I'm a villain, but I'm Tom Cruise on a mission. Heard he talking down in the squad, boy, yeah.
You can kind of hear it just kind of vanish right there. Really cool. Nothing too crazy and long. You can obviously adjust the taste. One thing I like doing is definitely getting rid of the bass and sometimes some of the treble of the reverb if I already want to kind of, you know what I mean, make a more tunnel sounding effect. So really cool. We've got all sorts of delays. I'll do a full delay tutorial in future, but just some delays that pop in and out. I think me explaining this one was enough theory for one day. It's just a delay essentially, or this one, just a delay into an EQ. This one is just a delay into a reverb. So you can get all sorts of different you know what I mean, delays and that kind of thing. So yeah, man, that's pretty much all I'll run through in this video. Obviously the beat has been mastered, so we're not doing anything on the beat. This is just a cool plugin which you can use to find the auto-tune scale, so that's pretty cool. Tape stop effect, and yeah, man, that's pretty much it. So if you are interested in purchasing a copy of this to make some really nice upfront radio ready, Spotify ready music, then definitely check the link in the description. I got some really good templates, probably best in the game, and you know it. But yeah, man, thank you for tuning in. Hopefully you had a great time watching and learning, and shout out to everyone who continuously subscribe and all that good stuff. I'll check you out next time. Peace out.